Hi, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Elad Pod. We will be getting started very soon. While you are waiting, go ahead and share the video, retweet it, whatever you're watching from. Make sure that more folks can see this show. This one's very important. It's for Missourians who are interested in applying for rent assistance, utility assistance, and there is a program out there right now through MHDC. We'll talk about it, how you can apply for it, and answer any questions that you have. So this is a very important one. As you know, the eviction issue and folks who are facing problems with housing, there are a whole lot of them in Missouri. And so if you could, please go ahead and share the video, let folks know so that they can see what resources are out there. We'll be with you in just a little bit. And while you're waiting, if you could, comment and let us know where you are watching from. That's always my favorite part while I'm waiting at the beginning. So we'll see you soon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Elad Pod. Very excited for this one. We'll be talking about some wonderful resources out there for folks in Missouri who are interested in applying for rental and utility assistance through the MHDC SAFHR program. Lots of acronyms. Don't worry, we'll talk about them all. While you are watching, if you could, so we can get more folks to see this, to see where they can apply for this funding, whether you're watching now or later, that's fine. If you could, go ahead and share the video. Send it to folks that you know so that they can really see how all of this stuff works, and so we can get more folks to apply for the assistance that's out there. Up to 12 months of assistance for rent and utility, and we'll talk about all of that right here too. Go ahead and comment. Let us know where you're from. Before we start the show, and usually I get right into it, we had a wonderful comment come in already from a very good friend of mine, and I'm going to put it on the screen because he has had quite a week already. Let's see if I can get it up there. James Shelby, Gaddafi, as many of you all know him, has just done a wonderful service for Kansas City. He is one of the, if not the major driving force behind the Kansas City Homeless Union. And they are working very hard to advocate for folks who are currently homeless and negotiating with Kansas City and the mayor there to really bring a lot of change to the area. And so if you know Gaddafi, well, you know the heart and energy that he brings to everything that he does. And so I just wanted to say thank you, sir, for everything that you're continuing to do. And it's been great to get to know you over the last few years now. So great job, man. And hopefully this will help you too. So if you can get this information out to folks that you know as well, more the merrier. So this is available for everybody in Missouri, and we'll talk about all of those details right now. So today I am joined by the wonderful Jenni Miller from MHDC. So let's make sure we've still got her. Jenni, are you there?
I am.
All right.
Good afternoon.
Yes, good afternoon. Welcome to the Elad Pod. Very excited to have you and to talk about all of the wonderful resources that are out there. So if you could you introduce yourself, let folks know what you do, what is MHDC, all of these acronyms and everything else we're going to be talking about. If you could give us all a crash course and what's going on in Missouri.
Absolutely. And I will definitely help with the acronyms. So MHDC stands for Missouri Housing Development Commission. So again, my name is Jenni Miller. I'm with Missouri Housing Development Commission. I'm the manager of HUD Programs. Our agency is responsible for the development through construction and rehabilitation of affordable housing using state and federal resources throughout Missouri, in addition to our Community Initiatives Department, who's responsible for administering state and federal homeless assistance grants. So in a nutshell, that is what we do. We're known as the State Housing Finance Agency.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what, I mean, I guess it's changed a little because this isn't a program for rental and utility assistance, and especially at this scale, it's not something that has normally, because there's some folks who certainly might be applying for another time in their life for help with utilities or rent, and usually that goes through some kind of like a local nonprofit or maybe a county, so it might be a little bit different. Why is stuff going through MHDC, which is the statewide organization?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So generally, we take our state and federal resources and we do grant them out through an application process to nonprofits throughout Missouri. And that's kind of what, we're known for and having those relationships with the nonprofits. However, through COVID-19 and the federal stimulus funds that have come down, we had to sort of change our approach a little bit in order to get as much money out there as quickly as possible to assist people. And so we've taken on sort of directly administering the emergency rental assistance funds so that we can quickly do that. There are also a lot of nonprofits that are just at capacity right now with everything going on. And so we were able to sort of step up to, build something that could be used statewide.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this I guess, surge of federal funds. It's going to a lot of different states, but we've got, quite a bit here. And it's designed for really housing stability, making sure that folks are staying in their homes, especially right now. And, as I've talked about before here and many other places, it's a big strain on tenants and landlords right now because a lot of folks lost jobs, lost income, had to watch kids at home. Small businesses had issues too. There's a whole big shock to the economy as a result of the pandemic, and that these resources are now here. So I guess we've got some slides we can talk through today about how the program works and everything, don't we? We do.
Yes.
All right.
Yes, we do.
Is that a good idea?
Yes, I'd be happy to get right to those.
Right.
I think this is a really historic and exciting opportunity to be able to make people whole again. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sort of the first way we start to heal is when we can make people whole in these, with their housing and utility bills to create some housing stability. Yeah. And so, I brought some slides. I'd love to go through them.
Yeah, let's do it. So we've got the slides up,
okay.
And whatever. I mean,
Thanks.
so this is for those who are maybe a little bit less familiar with it, because what you just said is so important. This is, I mean, there are a lot, like if you right now are watching this and you are feeling stressed out and you're just sitting there, it's like, oh my goodness, like I owe all of this money and I'm never going to get out of this hole and I'm just going to ignore what's happening right now. Don't. Like, there is help out there for you. I know it can be really stressful to open the mail or open the email or the text message from a landlord or, wherever else it's coming from. But this is so helpful. And I've literally, Jenni and I were just talking before we started, have helped folks through this application itself. And it's one that, can really get you out of the hole here. So, again, very excited to have Jenni on here to talk about the program. But if you're watching right now, at the bottom of the page, you'll see a website. It's mohousingresources.com. You can even go there while we're talking and ask questions as you're doing it. But that's the website for you. Definitely go there. And, Jenni, let us know about the program.
Great. So I wanted to sort of go back to the beginning a little bit, just so people understand where this funding has come from, because people are hearing about different pots of money all over the place, and there's different rules and regulations. And so I kind of want to help people understand that. So the COVID-19 Economic Relief Bill was signed December 27, 2020, also known as the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021. So that's the bill that included $25 billion in emergency rental assistance, or the ERA program. So each state was allocated a certain amount of that fund, and the state of Missouri was allocated $408 million. So the regulations on this program say that 90% of those funds have to go to financial assistance. So that's your rent, utility assistance. And then 10% can be for housing stability services and administration. So the funds must be obligated by September 30. It is run by the U.S. Department of the Treasury. However, the most recently passed American Rescue Plan does extend the funding through September 30, 2022, but it's just still unclear through the Department of the Treasury whether or not that obligation deadline is going to change. So Treasury wants to see a lot of our funds obligated by September 30th. So states and cities and counties with populations over 200,000 were eligible for an allocation of ERA funding. So for the state of Missouri, what that meant is that Clay County, Greene County, Jackson County, Jefferson County, and St. Louis County, Kansas City, and St. Louis all received their own allocation of these ERA funds in addition to the state. So for the state, again, Missouri Housing Development Commission is administering the ERA program, but there are ERA funds in these other communities as well. So as we referred to before, if you go to mohousingresources.com, you can find links to the state program as well as these other programs that are available. So I'm going to talk about the state allocation today because I'm with MHDC and that's what we are responsible for. So these funds were appropriated by the state legislature in House Bill 16 on February 11th. So some people also refer to them as, they'll ask questions about, hey, what's that House Bill 16 fund? And so, again, tying it all together, Treasury calls it Emergency Rental Assistance, or ERA. We got the funds appropriated through House Bill 16, and MHDC is administering it through the SAFHR program. So that's State Assistance for Housing Relief Program. So the state of Missouri is allocating approximately $320 million in emergency rental assistance. And we have a couple of ways that we're doing that. So we have a renter application portal that opened on February 15th. And then we have a landlord application portal, which opened on April 1st. We also have housing stability services coming online. And so you'll be able to, for folks that might need to sit down with somebody, do some planning and how to achieve housing stability beyond rent or utility payment, we'll have a list of agencies that people can connect with as well. So again, I think the big item on this slide is that on April 1, all of the SAFHR programs opened to the entire state. So previously to April 1, the SAFHR program was not open in areas that received their own allocation. We needed some time to work together with those communities to make sure we weren't having any duplication of benefits. And now that we have that in place, we are able to serve the entire state. So SAFHR program eligibility, this comes straight from the Department of the Treasury. So all ERA programs are going to be subject to these three main eligibility criteria. So the household has to have an income at or below 80% of the area median income, which is based on the county you live in and the size of your household. And so if you go to mohousingresources.com on our website, you'll be able to see a chart where you can look up your household. You find your county, find your household size, and then it will tell you the maximum amount, which would be 80% of the area median income. And as long as your income is below that, you would be eligible. One or more individual in the household receives unemployment or attests to financial hardship due directly or indirectly to the COVID-19 pandemic. And one or more individual in the household demonstrates a risk of homelessness or housing instability. And so this is a screenshot from our website. So when you go and you're interested, you can look at what is SAFHR, am I eligible, and how do I apply? So you can get lots and lots of details there, kind of explaining those three main criteria. So what can SAFHR pay for? So SAFHR offers financial assistance for the period beginning April 1, 2020. So financial assistance includes up to 12 months of rental arrears, up to 12 months of utility assistance per eligible service. So utilities include electric, gas, water, sewer, wastewater, and trash. And then we also have other fuel costs such as wood or propane. When I say 12 months, a month can include multiple services. So a month could include rent and multiple utility services.
So it's so when you say 12, it's not like 12 months total, 4 months for utilities, 4 months for rent. If I was behind on utilities and rent for the whole 12-month period, that would be covered too?
That's right.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification. Yes. And then up to 3 months of forward rent assistance. So again, the total assistance that a household applies for cannot exceed 12 months. So if you applied for 9 months of rental arrears, 9 months of electric, 9 months of gas, and 3 months of forward rent, that would be eligible. Again, you can apply for only rent, only utilities, or both. And payments are made directly to the landlord and utility companies. So this is what you'll see when you go to mohousingresources.com. You'll see a box where you'll want to go if you're a renter interested in applying, and a box if you're a landlord that's interested in applying. The online renter application portal, you can apply for rent and utility assistance up to 12 months, and you must do that in collaboration with your landlord. So you will fill out your application, provide your landlord's contact information so that they can provide their payment information. And then with the online landlord application portal, landlords can apply for rental assistance. So landlords aren't applying for utility assistance, they're just applying for rental assistance. But that also has to be done in collaboration with the tenant. And that is in the Department of the Treasury regulations that tenant must sign off on that application and be part of the process. So when you're ready to apply, we recommend that you review the website materials and confirm that you're eligible. You then will want to create an application account and begin the application. You'll certify that the household meets the program criterion and eligibility checklist. We don't want you to go too far if you don't meet one of those items. Then when you complete your tenant portion of the application, it'll ask you for general information on the household, income, the amount of assistance you're requesting, and your landlord's information. And then it'll ask you to upload some required documents. So those include a photo ID, income documentation if you have income, your past due notices for rent and utilities, and then a copy of your lease. That is another piece of the federal regulations. You have to be obligated to pay rent on a residential property. And so we do need a copy of the lease. Once that happens, you'll enter your landlord's contact and payment information. It will notify them to submit that. Then you'll be notified that they have completed their portion, and then you can submit. And so once the application is submitted, if there's a problem or a correction is needed, we will notify you. We won't just throw out the application. You'll be notified that a correction needs to be made, and you'll have 10 days to make that correction and resubmit the application. So those are sort of the bones of the program. And with that, I've got our website. You can email mo.safer@mhdc.com with any questions. And you can also call this phone number for any assistance or questions about the application.
Great. Yeah, that's wonderful. And for those who might be listening afterwards too, the phone number is 888-471-1029. This is so okay. So I've actually been in this online system to apply. We were talking about a little bit earlier too, and it is it's pretty intuitive. Like, it walks you through the process, right? There's like different sections, and you have to complete them, and they let you know, hey, buddy, you didn't finish the whole thing, and here's like a red mark, and you got to go back. So it is pretty. It is. I mean, it helps you through the process. And I guess it kind of tries to prevent you from making mistakes. But if there was a mistake, how should somebody expect for you all to reach out to them if they do need to make a correction to the application?
Sure. So if there is something that needs to be clarified or corrected in the application, they'll receive a notification from the email address that they entered when they created their profile. And the email will outline, it'll provide instructions for how to make the correction, how to resubmit. And then, of course, they can call. There's also a phone number they can call if they're just not sure or they're having trouble finding what that correction was.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and the hotline has been very helpful too for folks. So one question I did have one. So for pieces of, I try to get, when folks are applying, I try to tell them, hey, get all this stuff together and then, go over there. But you can also go to the website. You don't have to remember anything. You can check and it tells you, hey, here's all that you need. So a photo ID, some kind of income documentation. Now, if you don't have an income right now, is there something that substitutes for that to prove that, hey, I'm below the 80% AMI, that this is where my income level is?
Yes, I will say that income qualification is a very tricky thing. Even people who are program administrators go to, day-long trainings on calculating income. So we understand that there can be questions when it comes to income. So I think that the most important things to remember are, first, the application will kind of walk you through 4 scenarios. So 1, do you have zero income? If you have zero income for the entire household, you will sign and attest to that, and you will move on. If you do have income, it'll go to the next question, and it will say, do you qualify for one of these other federally means-tested programs, such as Medicaid? If you do, then they've already determined your income. So you can upload your enrollment letter from that program, and then you can move on. If you don't participate in one of those programs and you don't have zero income, it'll ask you for your income for the last 30 days. So to annualize your income from the last 30 days, you would take that income and multiply it by whatever your pay frequency was. And then if you're under 80% AMI, you're good. However, Treasury built in something else here. So if you are over income for the last 30 days because you've recently become employed, but for most of 2020 you had zero income, you can qualify based on your FY 2020 annual income. And so for that, you would upload your 1040, your tax statement.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, we did have a question here, and it came from Jay, so I'll put this on the broadcast because I'm sure other people had this, and we've had some issues with unemployment in general Missouri, but he's asking, is there anything to help someone making just over the 80% income level for their county? I'm on unemployment, which is over the 80%. So I guess it kind of depends on their situation. Is that right? Just like depending on which calculation they could use to get them within that threshold?
Yeah, it does. And you just, I would recommend emailing the mo.safer@mhdc.com to just check into it, because it's very possible that for your FY 2020 income, you qualify even if you don't for your last 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely check it out, Jay, and anybody else who's having that issue. In the email, I mean, you all get back pretty quick to folks too, which is really great. Oh, that's the question everybody's wondering, right? Okay, so I apply for all this stuff, and I've done all this work, and I get through it, and my landlord's done it too. How long does it usually take for payment to come in and for hopefully, my back rent to be taken care of?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I will say if people have a cure or multiple cures, it will take longer because of the time that then they have to fill out, and then it goes back for review. But once you get to that final and complete, no more corrections, you hit the submit button, we anticipate it to be reviewed within 2 to 3 days, and then payment to be made within 10 to 14 days after that. That's the best case scenario. So we ask people, if you've submitted and it's been, 2 to 3 weeks, that's when you should go ahead and follow up.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Which is, that's great. So all right. So, we've got two kind of perspectives here. We've got one, I'm the tenant who's applying, and then two, I'm the landlord who's applying. And so when I'm the tenant, I get through, these documents, I get everything together, I'm uploading them to the system. One question is for the uploads that I'm making into the system. A lot of folks, they might not have a scanner at home, but we all have these phones, right? So many folks have this, or you go to your library and you can get something scanned in. A lot of libraries are opening up now too. But let's say, I've got my phone and I can take a picture of something and then get that onto a computer to upload it. Would that work for folks?
Yes. And we expect that, and we're good with that. Even if somebody needs to take a picture of, let's say they have an account for their utilities or their rent, and they take a picture of it on their computer screen and then upload it, that's fine. So yes, if you just take a picture and upload it, that is acceptable.
Yeah. So screenshots, pictures, those are okay. You can get those uploaded, and then you just press that button there. All right. So I'm the tenant, and I have completed the application. And then it comes up and it says, okay, now it's time for your landlord to do something, right? And you can't do it anymore. The landlord has to get it over there. So you need some kind of an email, right, for your landlord so it can send it over there. And then it goes to the landlord. What then happens what does the landlord then see?
So at that point, the landlord would see an email that says X tenant has applied for rental assistance through the SAFHR program. If we're asking for you to verify this information and then provide your payment information, and you can go in by clicking this link here. And so once they've done that, it's called a recommender task, is the technical term that they'll see. They're asked to be a recommender on the application. And then once they've provided their information, the tenant gets a notification saying, this information has been complete. and they can go in and hit submit.
Gotcha. Okay, so that will be the recommender task, and I think there's even language on there that's like, "Hey, this isn't like an actual recommendation. We're just calling it this."
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Some things in software you can't change when
Right.
it's already built in there.
Right. So don't worry. Don't have a panic attack. Hopefully you all are treating each other nicely, and if you're not, hey, we'll talk about that at the end too. There's programs out there for you too. But you'll as when you're the landlord and you see this, hey, recommendation, this person's applying, that is your cue to then go in there, upload some of your documents, and those specifically, that's the what is it that the landlord has to upload?
The only thing the landlord has to upload is their W-9,
Right.
and then some kind of voided payment information or letter from their bank, just so we can verify where we're making that payment to.
Gotcha. Okay, so like a voided check would work for that for a landlord.
Yeah, they'll have the option to select ACH or check.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, so it's not too bad for the landlord, and then it gets sent over, and now it comes back to the tenant. So the tenant gets another email saying, hey, landlord just did what they got to do. Now the tenant has to go back into the system and then review everything and submit at that point, right?
Yes, and then there are multiple automatic notifications throughout the process. So each time something happens, you'll get an email saying, this has been submitted, this has happened. And when the application is approved, so when it's on the back end, when it's moving stages, the applicant and the landlord will get notifications of that.
Great. Yeah. Okay. Now, so that's I'm the tenant and I'm applying. What does it look like if I'm the landlord and applying? How does it look any different at all from the landlord's perspective?
So the landlord is going to have to provide some information on the tenant household. So we do recommend that they take a look or print off the tenant application worksheet that's available on our website, so that they have that information before they go in and start, uploading everything and submitting everything. It doesn't look very different. It's pretty much the same process, but the landlord will enter those things. And then they'll have to have that signature of the tenant, like I said. Yeah. So there's no different information being asked. It's just kind of how the questions are being asked and who's responsible for answering them.
Gotcha. Okay. Is there, is it any easier? So landlord goes through, they got to provide the same kind of documentation, W-9. Obviously, the money's coming to them, so we need some kind of avoided payment or anything. But if it's coming from the landlord versus coming from the tenant, when the tenant's initiating this, there's all these questions they got to answer, and here's the periods during which I want rental assistance. Is that stuff shifted to the landlord in this situation, where it's like, hey, here's the period where I want rental assistance because I've had this tenant here and I'm the one who's doing that? Or is it still the same? Is it still on the tenant?
Yes, it's still very similar, because we still have to be able to verify that no one is requesting more than 12 months. So the landlord will still outline those missed rent payments, or what they're requesting for forward rent and what months those cover. But it does look very similar to the tenant application. We found in a previous program that we were running, that landlords were participating in, called ERAP, which was CARES funds. We noticed that landlords with lots and lots of tenants got really good at sort of understanding what they needed to collect from their tenants, and then being able to submit, multiple a day, because they, had the time and staff to do that.
Right. Okay. So landlord applies, either way. You're kind of getting the same information from the landlord and the tenant, and then that funding goes through. There are some folks now, I know, so I primarily work with folks in the St. Louis County area, St. Louis City, but there are some folks who have applied for funding maybe before, because there was an earlier program that was up. Maybe they applied to a nonprofit. that had been administering the funds before. Maybe they applied to their local county before, this program had come up, the SAFHR one, however folks administered it. If, you all now, one of the reasons why there was a little bit of a delay in this one starting for everybody in the state, that there were a few counties that are out, was because you were trying to avoid folks applying twice, right? Getting paid twice for the same amount. So if I've applied somewhere else, but I haven't heard anything, right, for maybe even months now, because the program's been shut down for a bit, can I still apply to this even though I haven't heard back, or I was in the process of another application?
Yeah, and that's sort of what took us a little while to all kind of get on to collaborate with was we now have sort of a back-end system in place where we can look up to see if a payment on behalf of that household has been processed. And as long as it hasn't, we can move forward with that payment. And so two things I would say that you are welcome to go ahead and submit a SAFHR application if you have submitted something and you've been waiting a long time. Second, if you've received funding for previous months through a different type of nonprofit or different service or our previous ERAP program, as long as you're applying through SAFHR for different months, not the same months from before, you can apply to SAFHR even if you receive funding from an earlier program.
Oh, okay. Yeah. If does the earlier program funding, is that included in the maximum 12-month period, or is that separate?
That is separate because they're different programs. And so let's say that you applied for 6 months of rental assistance through our previous ERAP program, which was CARES funds. That 6 months max was on the CARES funds. So now you are still eligible for up to 12 months of SAFHR assistance.
Gotcha.
As long as the months that you're requesting, don't overlap.
Right. I guess that's since we're a year into pandemic time, so that probably is going to be more for folks who are applying for forward rent if they're applying right now, because that would get you over the 12-month total period.
Yeah, or it's possible that with our previous program you were only eligible for up to 6 months, so it's possible that now that we're into April that you do have a couple of more months that we're hanging out there and you do need some forward rent, so this would be a great option for you.
Right. Okay. We've got a couple questions here from Linda. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. All right, here we go. Let me get this on the screen. All right, so Linda asks, is the criteria the same for each individual county participating? For example, how would one know whether to apply at St. Louis County or SAFHR? So currently, right, there were these 7 counties, where I guess a couple of them were cities, St. Louis City, Kansas City, jurisdictions that could not, at the time, SAFHR had not opened for them, but it was open for other parts of the state. Now, in some of those areas, St. Louis County being one that Linda and I both know about, but St. Louis County has their own program, and we'll get some information for folks on that one too in case they'd like to apply for it. But that's a great question. Which one do we apply for? If I'm looking and I haven't applied anywhere yet, should I pick one versus the other?
Yeah, that can be confusing, but I think it's a good problem that we have multiple resources for people. And so what I would say is that the 3 tent poles that I talked about of eligibility, the income, COVID tieback, and the housing instability, those are going to be the same for all programs across the board. That is in federal regulations. Other local programs have the ability to impose additional requirements, but they can't go less than what the U.S. Department of the Treasury says. So as far as all programs eligibility, all of them are going to have pretty much, a very similar application process. Now, what I would suggest, some counties and cities that receive their allocation, maybe they don't have a public facing application yet, and SAFHR would be a great option for you. Maybe you need more assistance than going online to complete this application. It might make sense to go to your local organizations. Many of the cities and counties are distributing their funds to local nonprofits, and that might be a better avenue for you if you really need to connect and receive additional services.
Yeah, especially for folks, and some, like, there might be different capabilities depending on which one you're applying to, and for some of them, there might be local folks that you're working with who are more familiar with that application too. But at the end of the day, you can really apply to either one, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And we are all working together. That's what it's a really great thing. We meet with all the localities every other week. So we're in constant contact. We will be checking on our back ends to make sure that we're doing our due diligence to prevent any, crossover duplication.
Okay. And Linda did have a second one. By the way, for those of you who don't know Linda's been doing great work on a lot of these issues and has helped a lot of folks who are facing eviction with mediations and other things too, and has been doing housing counseling. She's just wonderful. So I'm very happy to take all the questions that she has. But one of them that she also had was about the delinquency being verified. So if somebody is behind on rent, the way that is being verified is, one, you're going to the landlord, right, to check on that. Two, and then folks are also providing, some kind of documentation of that, whether that's like a ledger, which is usually the easiest thing that folks find, or some other kind of documentation around that. Is that right?
Yeah. So, yes. So the Department of the Treasury does require that we verify that, X amount of months are being paid for. So if you have 6 months of arrears, we need to be able to see that with a lease. Now, we do know that there are situations where people's leases look different. So we have established some minimum lease requirements, and those are on our website. So if you don't have a standard lease, or if someone follows up with you, there might be just a couple of questions that you'll have to verify if your lease doesn't have it in there already. But yes, we do verify by the rent ledger, and then, with the landlord as well.
Gotcha. Now, if somebody, it's been an issue with court too, because a lot of the court went to online Zoom or WebEx or whatever folks are using for that, and it's been difficult for some folks who don't have access to the internet. Maybe they might have a phone and it's kind of on and off or anything else. Currently, is there a way when they apply for the SAFHR program, is there currently a way to do that without getting on the internet, signing on at some point and doing that application?
Yeah, so this is in our next phase, but people can call that helpline number 888-471-1029, and we will have a paper application available. Of course, whenever you're looking at a mail situation, it will cause some delays in the processing of that. But we will have a way to get that to folks that might not have access to internet or the ability to complete that online application. And also we'll have our service agencies coming online, and those agencies will also be posted at the website. And that's currently the phase that we're in now, is making that available to people.
Okay, no, that is great. Right. I mean, usually the mail is going to make it a little bit slower, but and there's a lot of groups out there that are willing to help you through the application program and everything else. So calling that number is very helpful. And then I can put up a link to some local folks, at least in the St. Louis area, who can help with that too.
And I would just add that we've got a request for proposals out there that'll be open on a rolling basis as for service providers that are doing case management and legal eviction prevention services. Our goal is to have statewide coverage so that in any county you're in, you would have an agency you could connect with directly, and we're getting there. We're getting really close. And so, like I said, once those agencies are in contract, and they'll be on our website, and people can make direct contact with them if they need extra assistance.
Yeah. Oh, that is great. More help, the better. So that's good. Okay, so I've got this up on the page right now. The phone number, the email, everything else for you all to contact, and the documentation. And it walks you through everything else too. So very helpful. Programmatic. Are we forgetting anything? Are you getting like some questions that are coming up pretty commonly for you that maybe we haven't discussed yet, that folks are seeing, when they're using the application, they're trying to get through it? Are there any kind of common questions that you're getting that we haven't talked about already?
I think that we've hit the big ones. A lot of people, and understandably, people will, want to just jump on there and just hit apply and just start getting through it. And we do get a lot of questions, with getting people through. And that's why I do recommend, looking at the eligibility, looking at, what to expect when you apply. It's not always fun to read that stuff. And I know that it's so information heavy because it is a federal program, but the more prepared you are, the more ease you're going to have when you get through it. And so please, if you do need help, email, call. Our goal is to get everybody who is eligible for this program through this program.
Yeah, that's great. There is one thing I almost totally forgot. So I've got it even right here. It's right in front of me, and it's circled, and I had an underline. I just circled it again for some reason. So if you are applying, right, you use a computer, and it is definitely it's easy. You can see the stuff. You just want to be aware that when you are applying, sometimes the button is like on your right side. It's not like just right in front of you. Like, you just got to look, like it's there and it says it, and it's very clear. But you just have to make sure to look at the screen and make sure where it is. If you're on your phone, you might have a few more difficulties, but it is possible to do. But you just, there's like some stuff where you have to kind of back out before you go forward. So you might have the best experience, if I'm not mistaken, is you have a computer, and then you can also have the phone there to help you take pictures. But if you only have the phone, you can still get through it. It just might take a little bit longer to do.
Yeah, we've had a lot of problems with phones, so I do recommend some sort of laptop, computer, and using Google Chrome or pretty much any browser besides Internet Explorer. We've heard Internet Explorer is not cooperating, so I would make sure that you're not using Internet Explorer as well.
Yeah. Oh wow. Well, didn't come from me. We're not sponsored by Google or anything. Don't worry. Using, I think I used Chrome when I was helping somebody out with it, so that one worked just fine. Okay, so we do have another question here. Is the CDC declaration part of this application, or is that submitted to the landlord separately? Really great question. My understanding is the CDC declaration. So for those of you who don't know, there is a nationwide moratorium on evictions, and the CDC has put out some guidelines. In addition to that, a declaration form that if you are a tenant and you qualify, and actually it's very similar to the categories we talked about earlier for what makes you qualified for that, but you can fill it out. It's actually kind of newer if you'd filled out one of these before. It's a checklist now, but you fill that out, you provide that to your landlord, and as long as you qualify under everything that you're signing to, then the eviction, the physical eviction can't go forward. Unfortunately, the legal stuff is still happening, and that might be on your record. So if you could avoid that, that's great. And participating in this program often solves a lot of those problems. But this, if somebody is looking, like if they're facing this legal action right now, and they need to have that declaration form figured out so they're not being physically removed from their homes, applying for this won't do that. Like, it doesn't automatically get them into that CDC declaration, signature area.
Yeah, that's a good question. They are separate things. And so that's a separate process that has been extended through the June 30th, the eviction moratorium. However, we have had tenants that have applied that have been successful with, showing the landlord that they're applying for this, or, bringing something, some proof of participation in the program, to show, and they're having luck with mitigating that situation.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, and part of the CDC, I know if you're using it and you're looking through, like you're reading that pretty closely, and you'll see part of the requirements there also to try to apply for funding just like this. And you might as well, like if you're in that boat, right? This is the time to really get all that stuff fixed, because what you don't want to have happen is you don't want to have the legal process keep going without your participation, because it will, and then you'll have something on your record. And at the end of all of this, eventually when everything's getting back to normal and the moratorium is over and everything else, those cases are still there, and you don't want to have this eviction coming, all of this debt, when you can apply to a program like this and really get a whole lot of help with that. So this is the time, if you have been hiding, but if you have been and you've just been really depressed about everything, this is a really great time to start applying and getting the help that's out there.
And I would add, that even though the moratorium is in place, that's not stopping these bills from racking up.
Right.
At the end of the tunnel, there's still going to be those bills. And so this is a great opportunity to take care of that as we move forward and, move out of this awful 2020.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yep. So, okay. Well, this was really great. I'm going to put up, hold up, let me get that screen back up with all the contact information for SAFHR. So mohousingresources.com, go to that website. It's got basically everything there. And then the email is mo, so like Missouri, but short, mo.safhr, and that's SAFHR at MHDC.com. And then the phone number is 888-471-1029. Closing thoughts, Jenni.
I would just say, thanks for having us today. Please spread the word. You can find us on social media. We're hoping, like I said, everybody that is eligible for this program to apply to this program. Please be patient with us. We are working very hard to make this run as smoothly as we can, and we're happy to be there to help in any way that we can. We've just all got to work together, landlords, tenants, and administrators. So, please reach out, please apply, and don't let the overwhelming requirements and documents that you need to upload stop you. If you just take your time, one thing at a time, you can get it all in there.
Yeah, no, that's very helpful. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for coming on and talking to folks about this and presenting. And they can reach you at all of those spots that we talked about earlier. So go to the website, everybody, apply for this thing. If you need any help, reach out. Heck, you can put a comment wherever you are. I see those and can get you to the right spot too. But this has been super helpful. Thank you so much, Jenni. Thanks for coming on.
Yes. No, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Well, I'll hold you on for just a second because I'm going to close everybody out. But folks, if you do need any kind of assistance, definitely look. The website's been on there the whole time. Go to mohousingresources.com. Check it out. In addition to that, I'll put this in the comments too. Some of you might have seen some of the programming earlier around some of the mediation programs and some of the other flyers. So we do have a flyer that we've assembled for St. Louis County in particular, but there are also resources in St. Louis City and going through SAFHR and all these other things. I mean, it will get you to that same program. So definitely apply for that. But yeah, if you've got any questions, put them in the comments. We'll still see them. Don't worry. And as always, you can reach me anytime at eladgross.live. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next time.